What's up, guys? Joey here. So I've got another Radeon GPU fix or Radeon software behavioral explainer that will definitely help a bunch of people out because this has been an ongoing issue for like forever. Basically, to do with the tuning profiles and the fan profiles, more importantly, resetting whenever you have a system crash or sudden power loss. Now, sudden power loss can be caused by your CPU overclock, your RAM overclock. Your GPU might only have a fan profile, and if anything crashes and resets the system, the Radeon default behavior is to reset your tuning profile back to default. And we all know the problem with that is that your custom fan profile is very relaxed and may run really hot if you don't forget to turn it back on. And there's not always a notification, like they've got like the little thing on the bell, but you don't always open your Radeon software and check it every time you launch the computer. So it's easy to forget. And then when you realize you've been gaming on it, it's kind of stressful because you want your card to last as long as possible, and that's why you set this fan profile that keeps getting reset. So I just want to share this fix that I've discovered because I've been using AMD for a few generations now, since 5000 series, and I've got like a ton of other fixes, fixing monitors, fixing VRAM, and it didn't occur to me that there's a really elegant and simple way to fix the cannot, like, there's, if you look it up, there's no way without third-party software that is like a standard solution to make the driver load your tuning profiles by default even after a power loss. Like, people just say, well, tough luck. You got to use More Power Tool and do a soft mod or something like that, or BIOS modding. And More Power Tool is also flawed because in 7000 series they restricted it that you can't use More Power Tool. So More Power Tool is basically just a registry settings application that loads it all into the registry. So if you're on 6000 or older GPUs, when the computer boots up after a power loss, it loads from the registry all of your tuning settings into the Radeon software. So that's what the Radeon software reads as the default. And since we don't have that with 7000 series, this fix will apply to everyone that doesn't use that software or on the same card as me, the same generation. So it's really dumb. It's dumb, but it's cool. But it's yeah. I don't want to drag it on too much, but when I figured this out, I was like, holy crap! How did I not know this sooner? So basically, if you go to the performance tuning tab, you can see we've got global tuning, and this applies to all games, um, everything, the desktop, and all your games. And this is where most people will go to set a fan profile. So an example, I will set a fan profile now, but I won't apply it because I'm recording with Radeon ReLive, and if I start messing with the overclock parameters, it can actually crash the ReLive recording and mess with it. So basically, if I enable fan profile, you can see here the stock fan profile sucks. It is super relaxed, and then to about 60 degrees Celsius, the fans don't spin. Now, the problem here is that AMD, whoever genius is on the AMD driver team, decided to make the 0 RPM tied to the edge temperature and not the hotspot temperature. And this is a major issue because the hotspot temperature is understandably hotter, and that's the one you want to cool down. That's the one you want to stop from skyrocketing up to 70 or 80 C. And what's worse is that, especially on my card, they're not even including a sensor here in their software or under the metrics tab for the VRAM, which is the memory junction temperature, your GDDR6. So the VRAM could also be running another 10 degrees hotter. And if you just look at the deltas here, if the VRAM is at 80 degrees and this hotspot is at 70 degrees, this edge temp can still be under 60, sorry. And it'll only spin up the fans on 0 RPM when the edge temp, the edge of the GPU die, hits 60 plus. And even then, when it does, it's like a few hundred RPM before it really ramps up. So super crap, especially if you live in a 35C ambient country like me, like my room temperature is literally 35C. And the way around this is we set a custom fan profile, but then we get a power loss and we forget to turn it back on, and then you end up cooking your VRAM and your hotspots high and all that crap. So, and then you have to like alt tab out. The most annoying part is if you're playing and you forget and you don't know, and then you realize it 3 days later, and it kind of pisses you off. So because we can't make it load, there's no checkbox. There should be a checkbox AMD need to add, like if they really want to be considerate to anyone using their software, there should be a checkbox, do not reset on power loss. Like a checkbox that just do not reset the driver profile. Do not restore defaults on power loss, especially for the fans, even if it was just a separate fan checkbox. Persist persisting fan profile or whatever, a little box that lets you do that. But since we don't have that, there is actually a really elegant solution, and maybe AMD think people know this, but we don't. Especially if you're watching this, you're trying to find out what it is. So basically, when you're in global tuning, there is actually no games in here. It'll just be your global tuning profile. And as you can see, I've added all my games. And this is the solution. You have to manually add all your games. And if you do that, it doesn't matter if the main profile gets reset, which is the global profile. So I'll just give you an example. If I reset this global profile, so you can see here I'm doing it live because it's already on the default at desktop. Reset, my 0 RPM is on. Now, if I launch any of these games, it will load the profile that I've saved to these games. So I had it on my undervolt, fan profile, and then I went into the gaming tab, or you can do it from here. Click the add game profile and select the games that you most play, or all your games. Do it for each individual one, and it's a bit tedious, but it is the fix. So for example, Black Flag or Cyberpunk, and once it's added in there, you can actually just switch to it to make sure that the right profile is loaded for that game. But this profile is not active, okay? These profiles load when you launch the games. So if you can understand what I'm getting at, it doesn't matter if your desktop's sitting at 0 RPM because you're not doing anything intensive. As soon as you load a game up, even if your system's crashed, even if the driver profile is reset to default, so the global profile is on default, once you launch a game up that has your overclock profile on it, watch this background here. It loaded instantly, and now my fans ramp up straight away. And it crashed because I'm Radeon ReLive recording this is a bug to do with ReLive recording, so I couldn't demonstrate it properly. If you're ReLive recording and then you launch a game and then the desktop's at default and then it tries to change the GPU clock, it resets back to because of the ReLive recording. Like if I wasn't ReLive recording, or if I just had my desktop set properly in the first place, it won't do it. But the game's actually crashing because it's trying to load an overclock profile while the VRAM and everything is actually under encoder use. So I don't know if that's a bug or that's just intentional. Some games won't trigger it. So I'll see if I can launch a game that won't. We'll try. Wait, not Battlestar Games. That'll take 10 years to load up. Days Gone. My Tarkov isn't updated anyway. We'll see if Days Gone will let me load into the game, because Path of Exile is a bit of a smaller app, so the bigger one might put higher load on the GPU to allow it to switch to the overclock profile easily. But my fans did ramp up for the moment that it was open. Okay, so we'll see here. Days Gone. Do I have a profile for Days Gone? Wait, let's double check. Or was I going to use Days Gone as an example? Okay, Days Gone I don't have a Days Gone profile in here. I think I was actually going to show you guys what the GPU behavior looks like without a fan profile. So on the stock fan profile, you can see that my VRAM is up at 74 degrees and my hotspot is up at 72, and that's at 180 FPS cap. And even if I cap it and I just leave it at the menu, we're still like running very warm for a menu at 80 FPS. Okay? And then so you saw that my stock profile, like this is just the stock behavior, default behavior. Now, if I close this and then I add Days Gone, so I guess I'll do the fix live for this particular game. I'm going to add Days Gone, and I'm going to load. You can load it from your save profile, so my driver profile with the fan profile and everything. So now this is saved on Days Gone, as you can see here in the list. But then my desktop is still at desktop, like it's just pretending that the driver's crashed. And then if I load Days Gone up again, instantly the overclock settings kick in and the undervolt kicks in. Well, this is not really an overclock. It's an undervolt at stock frequencies. But it runs nice and cool and I like it. But we do have the bug where Radeon ReLive recording. Oh no, maybe it'll still launch. Maybe it's still good. It just took a delay. Because it crashes with Path of Exile. I'm going to try this while recording. Just ignore that. I'm doing too many things at once. So Days Gone's loaded, and you can see I didn't actually have to load that profile. It loaded automatically, and my fan profile is up at 2400 RPM, going into the menu. And that's what you want. You want your profile to be active when your games are running, and that is the solution. It's just not automatic. You have to manually set it, and once you've set it, you're all good. So you can see here, I'm on global tuning, and my global tuning changed to match the game that's running, which is Days Gone, right? And just to confirm, like to show you what this behavior looks like in real time, if I go back to global, this is active at the moment. Now, if I close days gone, we know that global was on my default like 0 RPM profile, like it wasn't loaded. Now, if I close this, I'll just show you it in real time if I can. No, I can't bring both windows up. You'll just see that. See how I've moved this window slightly off center, like it's not maximized. You'll see the off center window go back to the default profile as I close the game. And look how much better the temps are. 54 degrees on the hotspot, 66 on the junction. And as you can see, the memory junction, which is not shown in Radeon software, is the hottest sensor on the card. And that's what the 0 RPM and fan profile should follow. But the fan profiles actually follow your edge temp. So you have to take that into account. If my fan profiles look super aggressive, it's because I'm taking into account that I know that the hotspot and the memory junction are higher than whatever this is showing. So you got to give it like a 10-degree headroom of fan profile. So your fan profile at 70C would actually be closer to 90C on the hotspot if you had your fan spinning up late. You want your fan profile for 70C to spin up with the 10-degree or so delta. So really, if you wanted 70% fan speed or 60% fan speed at 60 degrees on the hotspot, you'd actually have to set it to like 50 degrees on the edge temp. So 50C at 60%, just as an example. So anyway, as I close this, we'll see this, there we go, automatic. So it's now back to the default. And that's just, I don't actually use this default at desktop. I still like to run a fan profile while I'm browsing and, streaming, surfing, watching YouTube, whatever. I don't, when it's watching hardware accelerated content, you still do get some temperature increase. And it is nice to have like a low level fan speed for that. I don't like 0 RPM at all. But it's more to the fact that the worst case scenario is when you're running a game on the stock fan profiles and it really, you're cooking your memory and stuff. And so having this automatic feature basically solves that problem that a lot of people have had, where my profile keeps getting reset, and I was living that way. Like I'd forget sometimes after a power outage that my tuning profiles reset, and I didn't have any per game profiles. So basically, I'd load a game up and be running with 0 RPM on, and sitting at the menus in 0 RPM, and my friggin' VRAM's up at 70, 75C when it didn't have to be. Okay. So I hope that helps some of you out and that explains it well enough. Just load your normal overclock profile. You only have to do this once. So I'll load my profile and then go. There'll be nothing in this list. You have to click Add Game Profile or go through the Gaming tab, Games, click on each game one by one and go Tune Game Performance. Once you've hit that button with your normal fan profile and stuff open, like your normal tuning profile under Global, when you go into the Gaming tab and hit that Tune Game Performance, it will automatically sync it to whatever you've got active on your global profile. So your global profile will carry over to whatever you open, whichever games you open while it's active, if that makes sense. So if I, just as another example, if I reset this to defaults and then I went to add a game, it would add the default profile to that game. And you also want to make sure you haven't done that by accident, because you could have had the default profile open as an example, because I think this is happening. Some people are like, my profiles keep getting reset, right? You could have the default profile open and you've gone into one of your games not knowing how it works. And you click Tune Game Performance, and you can see I've got my overclock profile here, but if there was no profile here, I'll just delete it. I'll delete the profile and pretend there's none. Then if I go into the gaming profile for that particular game, which has no profile, right? And I click Tune Game Performance. Wait, which game was it? Black Flag. One of the Assassins. Origins. Was it Valhalla? Okay, I deleted the profile for Valhalla. And if I click Tune Game Performance, it's default because I didn't actually save it while having the right profile active. If that makes sense. So when you have no profile, it takes it from whatever the global's on, and that'll actually save to that game. That even if you tune a global tuning profile, so I'll give you another example. Let's just pretend I don't know how it works. So I'll go into gaming, and I'm like messing around, like not knowing how these buttons work, and I click on Valhalla, and I go to Tune Game Performance, and it saves it as a default profile, right? Then I get out of it, right? I go into my overclocking, I'm benchmarking, and then I open it, the thing again, right? And I'm back here. I go back to performance tuning in global, and then I do my global, my proper values, right? So now this is my overclock undervolt, and then I'll go to play Valhalla later, not knowing what I've done. So what'll happen when I load Valhalla now? Now Valhalla will have my default profile, and it'll load this. It'll load the 0 RPM. So I just wanted to add this on the end. This can happen to you. You basically want to go through any profiles you've created and make sure Explorer is not necessary. I was testing to see if I could get it to load at the desktop, but it doesn't work because Explorer loads before Radeon software. But basically, you have to go through and make sure you haven't accidentally saved any of these under the default profile, because then you'll have the default, you'll have your undervolt resetting while you're playing. So what I want to do to fix this is I want to delete profile, and then I want to go in my global tuning tab. Then I create the profile again for Valhalla, and now it's got the correct fan profiles and everything saved. So that's how I'm double checking stuff. I can go through all these games, make sure that it's showing the right profile and the right clocks and the right everything. You might even have specific games that aren't that intensive. You could lower the clocks. You could adjust it even further. But long story short, this is actually very powerful and useful, and it's actually awesome. Like, it's actually good. If you know how it works, it's good. But if you don't know how it works, it makes the global tuning by itself just seems crappy when it resets on its own. But you don't need global tuning. You just need the per game tuning. That's the secret sauce. So thanks for watching, guys. And if this helps you out, then let me know. It's good to see if there's people actually benefiting from this. And yeah, have a good one and take care. Bye. Hey guys, I forgot, I'll just add this onto the end. There is also a way to set it for your browsers and hardware accelerated apps, and that is just to add them as a game profile. And so you might have already realized that, but yeah, you can do that too. So if you're even wondering if you're going to watch a stream, hardware, hardware decoding, encoding, whatever, you're doing something to do with hardware acceleration, and you definitely want some kind of fan profile running, then you can just do that as well. You could even adjust a different fan curve, whatever. And the way you do that is you just find your shortcut for whatever application it is that you want to add. So for me, I might want to add VLC. I just want, like, if I'm watching like multitasking or something, and then open file location, and you can actually see the path for whatever it is. Oh, this is the wrong one. Actually, that's RealBench. The recently added VLC that I installed. From the start menu, you can go to open file location to see where the file is. So it's in program data, Microsoft Windows, blah, 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 to the VLC shortcut. And you can even click the VLC shortcut, go to properties, and you'll find the actual install for the EXE. So C drive, program files x86, video LAN, VLC. And then I would just manually click these three dots, add a game, C drive, program files x86, video LAN, VLC, and then find the VLC.exe. And then when I add that in, it should pop up somewhere here. Like, you can see some come up with different different icons depending on what the app is. Like, if it's not a well-known app, this icon is the Brave icon, and it came up as 3D mark. So the game, obviously, AMD software is not designed to detect browsers. It's designed to detect games. So because I manually added this browser, because I use multiple browsers for my kids, we share, so we don't have to share favorites and all that, bookmarks and everything. So basically, if I go into Brave, where I've added Brave, it comes up as 3D mark. But as long as I click this tune game performance and double check I've got some kind of fan profile here, it's not going to use the high end of the fan profile, of course, but I'll know that I'll get at least 15% while at the desktop, 15 to 50. Okay, but that's going also off the edge temp, not the hotspot temp. So the edge temp would actually, the edge temp probably never reaches 50. It'll be somewhere in between 30 and 50. Okay, and just to show you how that works, that you can also do that, and we can also do that for VLC, which we've just added. So if I go into VLC, it's got no profile at the moment, and I can tell it's got no profile by going to performance tuning and use the drop down. You'll actually see there's no VLC here. Okay, and from either section, from the gaming tab or from the performance tab, you can add the game profile that you've already manually added. So there we go, and you can see it defaults because my performance tuning tab is on default. But normally I would have my fan profile going, and then I've just added that. So now VLC has this profile saved to it. Okay. Okay. So I hope that helps, guys. And yeah, just adding that on the end because it is, like, obvious for some, but not everyone. Okay. Have a good one. Bye.